Wrong room, the billionaire heiress mocked him, until the single dad's tattoo made her freeze. The laughter started before he even realized he was in the wrong room. It was soft at first, a few muffled chuckles from men in tailored suits, then sharper, colder, more deliberate. By the time Daniel Hayes understood that he had stepped into the executive boardroom instead of the public waiting hall, every eye in the room was already on him. His worn boots stood out against the polished oak floor. His faded denim jacket looked painfully out of place among silk ties and imported cologne. And the little pink backpack slung over his shoulder made it worse. At the head of the table stood Victoria Laurent, the youngest billionaire heiress in the city, poised, immaculate, and visibly unimpressed. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and never judging someone by their appearance, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter because they remind us who we really are. Daniel cleared his throat, his hand instinctively tightening around the strap of the backpack. Inside it were crayons, a juice box, and a folded drawing his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had made for him that morning. He had only come to the building to apply for a maintenance position. The receptionist had told him to wait on the 14th floor. He must have taken the wrong elevator. Victoria's eyes scanned him slowly, deliberately, as though he were a stain on her marble floors. She was elegant in a cream blazer and heels that cost more than Daniel made in a month. Her voice, when she spoke, carried the crisp edge of someone who had never been told no. The boardroom was filled with investors. On the screen behind her was a presentation about a new luxury hotel project. And standing awkwardly in the middle of it all was a single father who hadn't slept more than 4 hours in months. Daniel felt the heat of humiliation crawl up his neck. He started to apologize, but the words tangled in his throat. He wasn't used to rooms like this. Since his wife had passed away 3 years earlier in a sudden car accident, his world had shrunk to school drop-offs, late-night shifts, and hospital bills he was still paying off. Pride was a luxury he couldn't afford. He endured what he had to endure. Victoria stepped closer, her expression a mixture of disbelief and irritation. The security guards shifted at the door, waiting for her signal. The investors exchanged knowing glances. To them, Daniel was a mistake. An inconvenience. But then something unexpected happened. As Daniel adjusted his jacket, the sleeve slid back, revealing the tattoo on his forearm. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't artistic. It was raw and deeply personal. A pair of small hands traced in black ink, with a date underneath. And below that, in simple letters, "My reason to breathe." Victoria's expression changed instantly. Her confidence flickered. Because she had seen that tattoo before. Not on him, but on a photograph. 2 years earlier, Victoria had been trapped inside a collapsing parking garage when an earthquake struck the city. Concrete cracked. Steel screamed. Panic swallowed everything. She remembered the suffocating dust and the sound of people crying for help. She remembered thinking she would die under the weight of her own empire. And she remembered the man who crawled into the wreckage to pull her out. He had been off duty. Just a volunteer firefighter passing by. He had refused to wait for backup when he heard someone was still trapped inside a crushed sedan. He had cut through twisted metal with bleeding hands. He had wrapped his jacket around her shaking shoulders. And as he lifted a slab of debris to clear a path, she saw it, that same tattoo, smeared with ash and blood. He had disappeared before she could thank him properly. The chaos swallowed him as ambulances arrived. She had searched for him for months through the department records, but he had declined recognition. She never learned his full story. Until now. The boardroom was silent as Victoria stared at his arm. The air felt heavier. Investors leaned forward, confused by her sudden stillness. Daniel noticed her gaze but misread it. He quickly pulled his sleeve down, assuming she found it inappropriate. The humiliation deepened in his chest. He thought of Lily waiting at school, believing her father could fix anything. Victoria's mind raced. The man standing in front of her, the one her executives were seconds away from throwing out, was the reason she was alive. The reason she could stand in this room and command millions. And he had never asked for a cent in return. The realization cracked something inside her. For the first time in years, Victoria felt small. Daniel finally found his voice. He explained that he was there for a maintenance interview. That he must have taken the wrong elevator. That he was sorry for interrupting. He spoke calmly, without resentment. He wasn't angry. He was tired. Victoria saw something else in him now. Not poverty. Not embarrassment. But strength. The kind forged in fire. The kind that runs into collapsing buildings because someone's life matters more than your own. She remembered the way he had spoken to her in the rubble, steady, reassuring, promising her she would see daylight again. She remembered how he had coughed through the dust but refused to stop until she was safe. And now here he was, reduced in the eyes of her board to a punchline. Her voice, when she finally spoke, carried a different weight. She dismissed the meeting. The investors were stunned. The guards stepped back. Victoria walked toward Daniel slowly, her heels echoing against the wooden floor. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize publicly. But her eyes softened in a way that words couldn't capture. She asked him quietly about his daughter. The question caught him off guard. He hesitated, then told her about Lily, about how she loved drawing butterflies, how she hated math, how she still left half her sandwich in her lunchbox. As he spoke, the tension left his shoulders. For the first time in that building, someone was seeing him, not judging him. Victoria listened carefully. When he finished, she told him she remembered the day of the earthquake. She told him she had searched for him. And she thanked him, not as a billionaire, but as a woman who had once thought she would never breathe again. Daniel blinked in disbelief. He had never connected the headlines about the billionaire heiress trapped in a garage with the frightened woman he carried out that day. To him, she was just another person who needed saving. That was who he was. Victoria made a decision that afternoon that would quietly change both their lives. Daniel didn't leave with a maintenance job. He left with a position overseeing safety operations across all her properties, a role designed specifically for someone who understood risk, courage, and responsibility. But more importantly, he left with dignity. In the weeks that followed, Victoria visited the safety training sessions personally. She met Lily, who shyly handed her a butterfly drawing. The empire that once felt hollow began to feel human again. Victoria started funding emergency response programs across the city, naming them anonymously. Because sometimes the wrong room isn't a mistake. Sometimes it's destiny forcing you to see what truly matters. Daniel never asked for recognition. He only asked for a stable future for his daughter. And in saving Victoria once, he unknowingly saved himself from a life of being unseen. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word dignity if you believe every person deserves respect, no matter their circumstances. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you not to judge too quickly, or inspired you to look twice at the quiet heroes around you, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps stories of compassion reach more people who need them. Because sometimes, the man standing in the wrong room is the very reason you're still standing at all.